Hello, I'm the Artistic Astronaut, and welcome back to another episode of Timeline. Today, we're going to be talking about Sputnik 2. Sputnik 2 was the second spacecraft launched into Earth orbit on the 3rd of November, 1957, and the first to carry a living animal, the Soviet space dog named Laika. Laika didn't survive any orbit. She died a few hours after the launch. Launched by the USSR, Sputnik 2 was a 4-meter, 13 feet high cone-shaped capsule with a base diameter of 2 meters, or 6.6 feet, that weighed around 500 kilograms. Though it was not designed to separate from the rocket core that brought it into orbit, bringing the total mass in orbit to about 7.79 tons. It contained several compartments for radio transmitters and a telemetry system, a programming unit of regeneration and temperature control system for the cabin, using various different scientific instruments. A separate sealed cabin contained the dog, Lakia. Engineering and biological data were transmitted using the Trail D elementary system, transmitting data to Earth for a 15-minute period during each orbit. 2 photometers were on board for measuring solar radiation, ultraviolet and X-ray emissions, and cosmic rays. A 100-line television camera provided images of Laika. Sputnik 2 was launched into space only 32 days after its predecessor, Sputnik 1. Due to the huge success of Sputnik 1, Nikita Khrushchev ordered Sergei Korolev back to work creating a Sputnik 2 that needed to be ready for space for the 40th anniversary of Bolshevik Revolution. Plan for Sputnik 1 and Sputnik 2 was initiated and presented by Korolev and was approved in January 1957. At that time, it was not clear that the Soviets' main satellite plan, which would eventually become Sputnik 3, would be able to get into space because of the ongoing issues with the R-7 ICBM, or intercontinental ballistic missile, which would be needed to launch a satellite of that size. Korolev proposed substituting 2 simple satellites for the IGY satellite. The choice to launch these 2 instead of waiting for the more advanced Sputnik 3 to be finished was largely motivated by the desire to launch a satellite to orbit before the U.S. Laika was a Soviet space dog who became one of the first animals in space, and the first animal to orbit the Earth. A stray mongrel from the streets of Moscow was selected to be the occupant of the Soviet spacecraft Sputnik 2 that was launched into outer space on the 3rd of November, 1957. Little was known about the impact of spaceflight on living creatures at the time of Laika's mission, and the technology to deorbit had not yet been developed, so Laika's survival was never expected. Some scientists believe humans would be unable to survive the launch or conditions of outer space, so engineers viewed flights by animals as necessary precursor to human missions. The experiment aimed to prove that a living passenger could survive being launched into orbit and endure a micro-G environment, paving the way for human spaceflight and providing scientists with some of the first data on how living organisms react to spaceflight environments. Laika died within hours from overheating, possibly caused by a failure of the central R-7 sustainer to separate from the payload. The true cause and time of her death were not made public until 2002. Instead, it was widely reported that she died when her oxygen ran out on day 6, or as the Soviet government initially claimed, it was the enthusiasm prior to oxygen depletion. On the 11th of April 2008, Russian officials unveiled a monument to Laika. A small monument in her honor was built near the military research facility in Moscow that prepared Laika's flight into space. It portrayed a dog standing on the top of a rocket. She also appears on the monument to the conquerors of space in Moscow. I hope you enjoyed learning about Sputnik 2 and Laika today. As always, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.